dears. So nice to see you. Oh, so very nice to see you. Welcome to my little cottage. There are so many dear old friends. Lucy, darling, how are your beautiful chrysanthemums?
Wonderful.
Oh, good. Griselda. Of course, you must tell the vicar how much I enjoyed his sermon on Sunday. Wonderful. Dolly, I do hope the Colonel has recovered from his cough. Horrible thing to be stricken. My friends, I'm sure all of you would like to say hello to me, but since there are so many of you, why don't we take care of it all together? I shall count to 3, and on the count of 3, you shall shout out all at once. Well, hello, my dear. My, oh my, don't you look lovely today? Are you ready?
Yes.
1, 2, 3.
Hello, my dear. My, oh my, don't you look lovely today?
Do you really think so? Shall make an old lady blush. Well, down to business, shall we? As all of you know, just 6 months ago, on August the 7th, 1957, our dear little village of St. Mary Mead was woefully beset by murder. Yes. And a horrible murder it was. Will people never change? Here we are in these modern times, and the human animal is just as cruel and savage as it ever was. Well, my friends, I'm delighted to announce that at last the murder has been solved. And, as is sometimes the case, your dear little friend, Miss Jane Marple, had some slight opportunity of assisting in the investigation. And, now having all the information I did not have at the time, I'm ready to tell the story. Would you like to hear it?
Yes!
Oh, good. Then sit back and pour yourself a nice cup of tea. For I find nothing goes quite so well with murder as a nice cup of tea. So where shall we begin? Of course, it was late in the night, and scattered here and there throughout the village were all of our story's most important characters. My dear friends, can you guess just which 2 of these seemingly innocent people were meeting in secret that night?
The red dress?
These 2 at the garden table. But my friends, can you guess where in the village they were meeting? At the bakery late in the night.
Cynthia,
Yes, Peter?
thank you so much for meeting me here at the bakery at such a late hour.
Yes. I'm rather confused as to why you needed to meet me at such a strange place at such a strange time.
Well, Cynthia, you know, I have asked you to marry me and you said yes so graciously, but I must tell you that I'm afraid to ask your father for his blessing.
Oh, well, you should be very afraid.
My dears, can you guess why he might be afraid to ask for her father's blessing?
Oh.
Sorry, what was that? I can't hear you. My hearing is, I'm a bit old.
It's a French mime.
He's a French mime. You're correct.
He has a tendency, being a mime and all, to put people in boxes. And I know you're so afraid, right, that you'll be put in a box and you won't be able to escape. And then he'll shoot you dead.
Oh.
Well, Cynthia, there's something else that I must confess to you, my love. You see, I know that we have discussed having children, and of course you say either way it is okay with you, but your father's the one who really is demanding for us to be with a family. But the problem is, Cynthia, I recently came back from the doctor, and it appears that I'm infertile.
whodunit! That's horrible! Oh, that's just awful. Now I might not be able to bear children. You know, I've always wanted children.
Yes, but I was hoping that our love would be greater than...
Oh, Peter, I can't go on with this anymore. I'm not in love with you.
Oh.
I'm so sorry, but I want to have a career.
My dear friends, can you guess what kind of career she would want? Taxidermy!
But
Genius! You know my love for dead animals. You know my tendency to drive a little too fast and run over the borders of squirrels, running around the garden. But now I found that I could be a taxidermist and actually make use of all the dead animals like tentacles. I want to be a professional.
But I would allow you to do anything that you love. And especially now that we cannot have children, that gives you much more free time to stuff animals.
I know it's hard for you to understand, being, well, who you are, a male in these times, and try to understand. Sometimes a person who's a woman does not want to have children. Shocking, I know. Try to breathe. Breathe.
Then this is not just about children. This is about everything has always been about you. Seems like the apple has not fallen far from the tree as your father.
Well, I don't think it's really fair to bring my father into this. It is not he who has fallen out of love with you, it is I.
I know, but he's a mime, a very strange career, and you wish to become a weird person just like him. I'm trying to...
I'm a creative type.
You'd rather stuff dead animals than have a life with me.
Well, that does say something about you, doesn't it? I'm sorry. I have to go now, but let's keep in touch.
Elizabeth, come over. Oh, my darlings, I'm so happy to see you. Oh, Beatrice. Well, I've had the most brilliant idea, and I need to share it with you. You see, the other night, I was bird watching on top of the roof. You know how I love to look at the birds with my... And there was a very special bird I was looking for. Well, I happened to glance upon your house, my love, and I noticed that your husband, Henry, was with Melanie, and he had his mouth on her, and his hand on his chest. Or her chest, actually. And what I realized in that moment, he knows CPR. Yes. And I thought perhaps that he could teach us CPR here to the knitting club. Wouldn't that be lovely? What a lovely idea. Oh, had I known CPR, my dear Herman would be alive. You see, when I tried to save his life, I smothered him. It was dreadful. I just didn't know what to do. So now that I noticed that your darling husband knows how to do CPR, he does need to come.
Well, now I understand why he's been gone so many evenings. He must have been taking a class. He wanted to surprise me.
Yes.
Oh, he's such a lovely man.
He's so generous with his time.
He is.
Well, darlings, I must say, my husband, you know, with his miming and everything, I believe he's tried the CPR on me before, and it really is, well, it's quite extraordinary. I found that when I am engaged in CPR with him, he talks.
He talks.
My dear friends, can you guess what else overcomes our dear lady when her husband performs CPR on her? What is she feeling? Anything. Say that again? Excitement.
And it's so exciting, especially when we're in the squirrel room. You know, Cynthia's squirrel room, where she has all the little squirrel heads lined up on the. I think before we have the CPR in this parlor, it would be very nice if we had some skunks from Cynthia.
Some skunks.
Yes. Oh, the black and white goes with the miming, of course.
My dear friends, can you guess what our friend here had as a secret she was holding at that moment? What did she have to share with them that she was holding? Yes?
She hates skunks.
She hates skunks.
Here. Well, it is a very exotic idea. You must realize something, that when I was a child, I was attacked by a posse of skunks. And it is true that not only do they make a foul odor, but they have 52 sharp teeth.
Mama, look what I just ran over! A skunk! Take it away,
Oh dear, I believe I'm going to have an episode. Oh dear.
Ah, there you are, my friend. Thank you for meeting me here at the pub. Why, it's been a long time since we've hung out together. How long has it been?
Oh, 5 years. You know I don't want to do the act all the time. Henri, my good friend. How are you?
I am doing very well, very well. I have something to tell you, my friend.
What is that?
Well, you know how I've been married for some time, always yearning to have an affair.
I always thought there was a little bit of a Frenchman in you.
Well, I'm finally having an affair with Melody.
Really?
Yes.
Congratulations.
Why, you don't seem happy for me, old chap.
It seems to me that you are rather new at this whole affair having business, for is she not your neighbor?
Well, that's all right. You see, for some time now, I have been spreading a rumor that kissing on the mouth is CPR. Therefore, if anyone sees us kiss, I imagine they'll simply think I'm delivering CPR.
I thought I saw you handing out those pamphlets at the local swimming pool. Very clever, my good man.
Oh, I tell you, the freedom that comes from having just a little something on the side. I don't mean to suggest I don't love my wife, I do, but you know how it is. Day in, day out, the same old thing. I mean, you must suffer from the same type of boredom. Down an imaginary flight of stairs, up an imaginary flight of stairs.
Yes, indeed. Sometimes I do feel trapped. But those days are long behind me. I am happily married. I just wish that my daughter could find the same happiness. I loved having a daughter, but part of me always wanted a son. And wished that I could have a grandson, for you know, in the Royal Académie de Paris de Mime, they only take male students. Have you ever seen a woman mime?
No.
They're called mimettes. They're no good.
I suppose when they walk against their wind, their skirt blows up.
Indeed. Well, also, they can't stay quiet.
Now, our dear friend, the French mime, had an awful affliction. Can you guess what it was? Bad breath. Thank you.
I must say, Henri, how much I treasure our friendship.
Well, I care for you very much as well.
Now, don't. 2 drinks, please. And make mine real. I don't want to mind the drinks, too. Please, I'm trying to have a moment here. I want to tell you how proud I am of you, that you found this happiness.
Oh, thank you.
Well, come closer.
Stand in the light over there. Yes.
Everyone in this bar, a cheer to my friend Henri, the best CPR instructor in town.
Yes, My friend, there is another reason why I was hoping to meet you here. Please do tell. Well, you see, I am trying to find a little bit of time to spend with Melody. You know, we keep sneaking in our little trysts, and, well, if a relationship like this is going to blossom, I say we need a good amount of time together, 3-4 hours or something, you know?
Indeed.
So, under the watchful eye of my wife, it's terribly difficult to get away. I was wondering if you could visit my wife and cause a distraction. Get her out of the house somehow, so that I could spend just a few blissful hours in the house with Melody.
A distraction, you say?
Yes.
This shall be my greatest performance ever!
Then you'll help me.
Yes!
Air hug.
Melody? Darling, what's troubling you?
I've been having breathing problems. And thank goodness I have found someone quite capable who has been performing CPR. But every time I don't see him, I feel faint.
Oh, darling, you know, actually, I've been watching you. Well, I've been bird watching, but I've been watching you and Henri for hours, actually. And I think he's quite good at CPR, so I'm surprised that you feel faint right now. Didn't he just leave?
Oh, well, I'm glad you're still watching.
Well, the ladies and I would like to know, actually, we want to invite him over to teach us CPR. But Claire has a problem with nudity, and I told her that every time I saw you, you seemed to have your clothes on. And so we like not to do that. So could you please tell us what that secret might be that we don't need to unclothe?
Now, I don't know if this is appropriate or not, but the fact that we are clothless is because there's more oxygen that goes into my system, he says, when I have no clothes on whatsoever.
Oh, well, that makes total sense to me then, because, well, oh dear, then I suppose then when we do the knitting circle, we should all take our clothes off.
Oh, dear friends, Melody and Beatrice had a riff in their past. Can you guess what it was over?
Cat.
Same man. Your guess is correct.
Beatrice.
Melody?
Ever since you invited me into your knitting circle, I know it was only to cover up the fact that you took little Edward from me all those years ago.
Well, it's a small town, dear, and I'm just trying to be nice, but it was just a social gesture. I don't like you. Thank you.
I don't like you either, Beatrice.
Well, of course you don't.
The nice thing is we can be civil. Now, when I say that you need to be naked in your knitting circle, well then be naked, be free, be free.
Oh, Melody, darling, Melody, Melody, Melody. I have wonderful news.
Oh, I hope so, Henry.
I have arranged for us to be able to spend some time together. And now that we'll be able to spend some time together uninterrupted, there's something that I need to tell you.
I will be fully cured of this horrible ailment of not being able to breathe well.
Melody, all of the times I've been giving you CPR, I've really been making love to you.
What?
Yes, you see, I employ just the slightest bit of a white lie in order to get close to you. Because, Melody, I care for you.
Oh. I've been naked in your presence, and I thought it was purely doctor-related.
Well, at that point I was pretending to be a doctor.
Oh, you did such a good job. The inspection was so thorough.
You're fine, by the way.
I'm so relieved.
Melody, I know it was a cad-like thing do, and I'm so sorry, but you must understand, I couldn't think of any other way to get close to you. You're just so beautiful, and every time I look at you or even think of you, I stammer.
Well, you don't need to stammer around me, for I have feelings for you too.
Do you?
I do, but I always want you to play doctor, because it's very sweet, and I feel healthier.
Melody, I have one more confession still then.
What? What is it?
Well, to be honest with you, as deep as my feelings are, I always thought that you and I would remain nothing but an affair on the side of my marriage. But if you really have feelings for me, I'll divorce my wife and you and I can be together for real.
For real?
For real.
It was at this point in the story, my friends, that I had entered. Elizabeth!
Oh, Jane.
Elizabeth, we have been neighbors for 20 years now, and while I don't understand why you would not join my knitting circle, I certainly respect your choices. Nevertheless, I come here bearing some grave news.
Oh dear. What is it?
Well, as you know, when the ladies come together, we share a little bit about the happenings in the town, and we live in such a small village, and well, your husband...
I know. He's learned CPR.
Is having an affair.
What?
I thought it incumbent upon me to tell you the truth, for you know that I can never abide by treachery or lies or murder.
Jane, how do you know such a thing? My husband is a loyal man. He would never do that to me. He's been taking lessons, you see, to learn the medical arts.
Darling, open your eyes. Look, remember, last year when we went sea bathing, and
yes,
there was that woman who was drowning and fell unconscious. Was she unclothed when they was performing CPR on her?
What?
No!
That's correct, yes. Why, I thought that was necessary, though, in the more modern version of CPR.
My darling, you have such a kind, sweet heart. You're reluctant to believe ill of anyone. I understand this, but open your eyes. Confront your husband.
Oh, Jane. Oh, this is horrible. Darling, Jane is just here for a visit. Please.
Miss Marple, lovely as always.
Shall leave you too.
Thank you for your visit, Henry. Please, we have something to speak about.
What is it, darling? You look positively tepid.
Well, come in. I do feel tepid. I feel weak. Oh, darling, is it true?
What?
An affair? What? Of course not!
I knew it.
All right.
What is that on your collar?
Leave me be!
Get away from me! I don't want you anywhere near me. Yes, it's true. I've been having an affair.
Henry!
You think I can go for so many years of marriage with someone as oppressive and domineering as you?
Oh, Elizabeth, hello! I am here to entertain you with... Get out of here!
It's too late! It doesn't matter.
Henry?
The gig is up.
How dare you speak to me that way? You know that nobody can speak to me that way. If you dare threaten to leave me for somebody else, you know, I might just lose my temper.
I might just lose my temper. My dear friends, that was as extreme as it was ever going to get for Elizabeth. She's a kind lady, but shortly after those words were uttered, someone in our story breathed the final breath. But who do you think it was? My dear friends, which poor unfortunate soul was found to be murdered? Melanie.
Oh, the fair.
Melody. Pardon. Your like this.
Elizabeth! Elizabeth, where are you?
I'm here, Beatrice.
Oh, darling, I have terrible, terrible news.
Oh no, you can't have worse news than I have had today.
Oh, trust me, this is awful.
Okay, please.
I was on top of the roof, looking at birds, and I looked down into the window of Melody's home because a bird had landed right there on the windows, and I saw her sprawled out on top of the bed. Oh, you can believe it was horrible. I know you're gonna pass out.
She has a bed on her roof.
No, darling, I saw it through her bedroom window. She was sprawled out on the bed. Pay attention.
Oh dear.
So I rushed down. I threw off all my clothes. I went into her room. I did mouth to mouth on her. I pressed her, and it didn't work. I need those lessons. I'm telling you. It was awful.
And then what happened?
She was dead.
Oh dear.
I tried it for 10 minutes. I watched your husband do it. I tried everything.
Okay. Well, I suppose it's because the lessons that he was taking were not real CPR.
No, I'm afraid that we're just not going to use him in our club. No, he doesn't know what he's doing. People will just die.
My dear friends, at this moment, our dear St. Mary Mead's Detective Inspector Craddock came upon the case.
Well, Henry, please step into my office.
I don't know why you're bothering me instead of going out there and trying to find who killed that poor girl.
My dear Henry, you're sweating. Is there something wrong?
Very hot in this office of yours. Oh, I suppose you keep it that way in order to make your suspects uncomfortable, do you? Oh, I'm sure you imagine that I had something to do with this. Well, I tell you now, even though rumors of our affair have spread, and even though those rumors are absolutely true, I have nothing left to hide. Yes, I loved Melody. Yes, even though I loved my wife, I had no longer any interest in being with her. And yes, I was going to leave my wife in order to be with my pure Melody. Finally, Inspector, finally a chance at real love like I had never, ever had. And do you think I would do anything to hurt that girl?
Well, Henry, unfortunately, you have. Now, I tried to make it a mission to teach everyone in St. Mary Mead how to perform CPR, but it appears that you've been undoing all of my work by teaching them the wrong thing. Perhaps this woman could have been saved should Beatrice have been able to resuscitate her, but unfortunately she was humping a corpse because of you, Henry. Now I know you've been up to these antics for many years, but I've been on the case for going on 15 years, and all of your silly hijinks have really gotten on my nerve.
Inspector, when I was a little boy, there was only 2 things I ever wanted.
Friends, what were those 2 things that you wanted?
Cats.
Hair.
Cats. Cats.
To be a rodeo.
Was that the first one? What was it? Parrot. A parrot and
Hair.
hair. A parrot and hair. You're correct.
What were those 2 things, sir?
A parrot and hair. Please, I loved pets, a parrot and a rabbit, all I wanted.
I see that these 2 things have no bearing on this case, so
It does have a bearing.
But please elaborate.
I will tell you. Do you know why I wanted a parrot and a rabbit?
I have no clue, sir.
Because I wanted children to like me. Do you know how hard it was to be a 6-year-old bald boy?
So you thought pets would make you interesting?
Yes, but it didn't work. And so I said, fine, I'll achieve something in my life. I'll achieve love of a good woman and a career. I'll be a doctor. You see, those were the only things I wanted. A parrot, a rabbit, love of a good woman, and to be a doctor. Well, none of those things came true for me. Oh, sure, I had a parrot and a rabbit for a short time, but I never spent the damn things. They died. I never had hair, so forget that. But I thought at least I could be a doctor and find love. And so I scraped together all the money I could, working odd jobs in disreputable gin joints all over the United Kingdom, and went to medical school. But I wasn't smart enough. I just wasn't smart enough. And so the only way I could maintain even the slightest grasp on my dignity was to pretend to have some sort of medical knowledge and convince women that when I make love to them, I'm giving them CPR.
Anyway, I will admit that when you started, you lost me, but eventually what you said wrapped up in quite a touching story. But don't think for 1 second that I will look away, that I will not keep my eyes on you 24/7 every day, because you see, as a child, there were also 2 things that I always wanted, and I will tell you now what those are. Number 1 was the eradication of all mimes in the entire world. For you see, when I was a wee lad, my parents took me on a trip to Paris, and I had 5 euros to my name, which I wanted to use to buy myself a souvenir. But no, we stopped at a mime to watch, and while I was entranced with his mimery, he slipped his hand into my little pocket and he took my wallet. I have no souvenir, and ever since then I've had this vendetta. That is number 1. Number 2 is the eradication of all criminals and say to marry Mead.
Inspector, shortly before Matilda was killed, I told my wife I was having an affair.
Okay, continue.
Don't you understand? She must have known who it was because I had Matilda's name tattooed right here on my head.
Matilda?
That's the woman with whom I was having an affair.
I thought you were having an affair with Melody, was it?
Melody! Melody! That's what I meant! I had Melody's name tattooed here!
My good man, you have women's names tattooed all about you.
Matilda was the parrot! And the rabbit was Fred.
Well, Henry, I understand that you are supposing that your wife, in a fit of jealousy, might be behind this. So
I tell you, she's capable of this. I know that nobody in St. Mary Mead knows this about her because she pretends to be such a dainty little lady in those knitting clubs, but the truth of the matter is she is a mean and oppressive woman. Oh, how she kept me under her thumb, Inspector. If anyone has the means to murder the woman with whom I finally found happiness, I tell you it's her.
Mr. Henri. Monsieur Henri.
I believe you mean Philip.
Yes. Of course.
Henri is my good friend. I'm sorry, you've caught me in the middle of working on my next routine. It promises to be my most interesting yet, and it is called...
It is called? What is it called, my friends? Can you
Flying
guess?
Bird.
The Flying Bird. You're correct.
It is called Le Flying Bird. Of course I will mime the ah part. I'm still perfecting it.
It is quite impressive, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Philip, I've come here.
Yes.
Would you please have a moment?
Of course. How goes things with my daughter?
Well, sir, not too well. For you see, I've confessed to her that I am infertile. I was going to come here and ask for your blessing for her hand in marriage, but she wishes not to be with me. She wishes to become a taxidermist.
Well,
and I've come here, sir, to see if there's anything that I may do to have her heart. You know her best, being her father.
Peter, you have made a critical blunder. I would never allow a man who cannot father children to marry my daughter, for I wish to have grandsons.
But Cynthia herself has explicitly expressed to me that she does not wish to have children, so it does not matter which man she chooses.
That girl will come around. Oh, she will be sorry, for there will be hell to pay.
Oh, she will be sorry, for there will be hell to pay. Quite a threat, my friends. Well, after he spoke those words, what do you think happened in our story?
He took away her car.
Another murder! But who do you think it was?
Matilda.
My dear friend, who was actually murdered? Henri's wife?
Beatrice?
Elizabeth?
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes, it seems in our story the women keep dying. And the poor woman's body was discovered like this.
Oh,
Henri, my good friend.
Philippe, my wife is dead.
No.
Yes,
How did it happen?
I was coming home late. You see, I had gone to visit the graveside of my dear Melody.
Yes, I am sorry, I heard about that as well.
And I came home in my grief, and I heard something from up in her room. I felt terrible about the row we had had, and I felt terrible about implying that she might have been responsible for the murder of Melody, and so I promised I was going to go up to her and apologize and see if there was some way we could rekindle our relationship and salvage it. But as I got closer and closer to the door, I heard a rush.
What did you see? What was it, my good friend? Oh, you have a look of horror, of death upon you. I'm sure it was most horrible.
Yes, it was. When I opened the door, I saw two things at the same time.
What were they? Oh, you look downright nauseous, my friend.
Yes, I need some space.
Of course.
At first, I saw the curtain on the window ruffling back and forth as if someone had quickly escaped. And then I saw what I thought was a man walking against the wind. down a flight of stairs. Well, I was watching all of that, and I completely neglected to look over to my left. But when I did, there on the bed was my dear wife. She was dead. Oh, with a rope tied around her neck. She was clearly trying to resuscitate herself. She was naked.
Then you suspect foul play?
Yeah.
This is terrible news, for it seems we have a murderer loose in St. Mary Mead.
Oh, Philippe. 2 women that I loved at some time in my life have been taken from me. My heart is breaking.
Lay your head on my chest.
No, thank you.
Detective Inspector Craddock.
Oh, Jane. Thank you for inviting me into your home.
Yes. My dear,
I this chair.
am disturbed. We've worked together on quite a few cases over the years. This one has an extra special level of evil to it. Let's review some of the themes. Necrophilia. Taxidermy. And mines.
This appears to be the setup for some sort of joke.
You know I don't joke, I'm an old lady.
Jane, I knew that, of course.
I think that there is something satanic going on.
Detective Inspector? Well, hello. I'm so happy to be on the exchange program from the United States of America. Hi. Well, hello.
Hi.
Jane, this is our newest officer. Her name is Sally Smith.
That's right, and I could not help when I went to investigate both of the bodies. There was something I saw coming. Skunk.
Skunk?
Skunk. That's right. There was a tail of a skunk that was stuffed in the most inappropriate places.
Is this something that Americans do?
Well, I certainly hope not. But being an expert, having worked at the zoo for many, many years, I know a skunk's tail when I see one. And that skunk's tail, sir, that was just potentially the cause of death.
This is so illuminating. One, I didn't understand that skunks were featured in American zoos. And 2, that was the cause of murder. Jane, this is a breakthrough.
It might be.
Well, I feel so excited to be on your department, sir. I'm gonna go do a little bit more investigating and I'll see you soon.
Yes, Miss Smith.
I have something to admit to you,
Yes,
Detective
quickly.
Inspector Craddock. Last year, when I was on holiday in the Caribbean, I came across news of a satanic circle.
Oh dear.
And they had 3 things in common.
Yes.
Necrophilia, mimery, and taxidermy.
Oh, how specific to this case. Yes, you're right. It must be satanic.
Yes. Extra level special level of sinister. And I wanted you to know that. My dear, we will investigate together.
Philip, come into the rabbit room.
Yes, of course. Hello there, my love. How you make my heart beat.
I have good news. Despite all these crazy murders,
Yes, Claire.
I do know that this town is finally becoming more than just a quaint English village. Why, there's talk of necrophilia. There's talk of nakedness.
I think we finally may be having a bit of France here in St. Mary's Mead. It is so
A bit of the bacchanalian fun, huh?
Yes, darling. Now, I
Yes, my
want
love.
you to know something else that I've been up to.
What?
Well, I think I've made inroads with one of the policemen. Yes. I think we're going to be able to have a little influence.
Really? I know this look. You are up to no good, and I love it.
So we'll be able to bring in dear Cynthia's chemicals that she needs for the taxidermy.
Yes. Her obsession. Have you seen her, by the way? Cynthia, are you around?
Darling,
Mama,
good news.
just stuffing animals.
Hello there, mon petit péchu. My beloved, I have had a visit from Peter.
Oh,
He says you have rebuffed his advances.
Father.
good for you, darling.
Yes,
Not good for her.
Yes, good for her.
How am I supposed to have grandsons? To carry on the family business? Listen, I have supported this silly taxidermy hobby from the both of you for long enough. I want to have little mimes.
Oh, darling, fight him. Don't
I
let
let
that.
you, Mother.
Thank you.
Now listen here, Father. I have been a dutiful daughter, and I have done well and never gotten in trouble. But my body is mine, and I choose not to have children, at least at this time.
Cynthia, this is the best part. I have spoken to Peter, and he has agreed that if you shall marry him, he will adopt nothing but boys. And that is what you are to do.
I shall not do it, Father.
Do not make me throw this heavy rock at you.
Throw that rock. Grab it! Grab it! Go ahead!
Grab it.
Oh, I knew you had some mime in you. You put that down, young lady. You put that down, young lady. Oh!
Father, I hope it kills you. What do you think, my friends? Another murder?
Yes.
Not yet. Oh dear, look at the time. My dears, why don't we all take a nice little break? Hey, my friends, welcome back. Did you enjoy your break?
Yes.
Lovely. Where were we? Ah, yes. Philippe the chauvinist was with his family and arguing with Cynthia, at which point she said,
Take this, Father, and I help it. You die.
Cynthia!
You didn't die. Don't.
well, immediately after that,
Have a little more respect for the art form.
I don't respect it, Father.
Listen,
I don't respect you, Father. How can I?
I believe this is yours.
All right, you two. All right. Enough. We need to talk about the drop tonight. So, my understanding is the flight from the Caribbean will be flying over and drop by parachute the little drugs that you need for your taxidermy, and someone will be hiding them underneath a trapdoor in the earth.
This makes me very nervous. You know, these taxidermy chemicals are illegal in the United Kingdom. This is not France. They are highly poisonous.
It worries me too, Mother. These chemicals are very, very important.
You are careful when you use them, aren't you,
Oh, of
Cynthia?
course I'm very careful, but if we're found out, it could be the end of us.
Claire, promise me. I know that you are into this wild laissez-faire lifestyle. You married a Frenchman as some sort of form of anarchy.
Okay. I'm finding this a bit uncomfortable, parents. Could you just say
I'm
what
just
you need to say?
Let's
saying-
take it upstairs, darling.
Yes, promise me. You will be careful.
I'm always careful.
And think on what I have said, young lady. I want you to marry Peter.
Don't listen to your father.
I'm not listening to him.
Oh, Beatrice, thank you for inviting me over. I've never been in your parlor before.
Oh, Henry, I'm so terribly sad.
Why don't you knit?
Well, you see, I'm knitting this lovely sweater for my dear Elizabeth.
Beatrice, you know, my dear wife has been recently taken from me. And the dear woman with whom I was having an affair, Melody, has been recently taken from me too. And I've suddenly noticed how beautiful you are.
But one first, I loved Elizabeth.
As did I.
And I hated Melody.
As did I. No, that's not true. I'm just saying it to please you.
Well, darling, oh.
You called me darling. Can it be true? Can all of this death and mayhem somehow have been necessary to bring two true loving hearts together?
Yes. Oh, yes.
Really?
Yes. Is there room on all that for my name?
Oh, yes. Why, I haven't even started on the back.
Oh, this is delightful, for I have a very long name.
Sweetheart, you make me happier than I can imagine. Why don't you and I just cut to the chase and get married?
Oh, what a great idea. Well, just one thing.
Oh, I want to look at you there up against that wainscoting.
Well, I was just about to say that as much as I'm touched by this, I'm a little bit afraid that the people in your life die. And I think that you might be crossing them off your chest.
Beatrice!
And legs.
Beatrice! I swear to you, Beatrice, that if you and I were to wed, and you give me the precious gift of your love, and you die in a grisly murder, I would not cross off your name. I promise. What more can a man promise?
What more can a man promise? A fish!
And yet, I have one thing more to offer you.
Yes, because you don't quite have me yet.
In my family, there's a tradition. You see, in my family, when a man loves a woman, I mean truly loves a woman, he catches a fish with his bare hands. And this fish I caught for you in the pond down by the senior center. And I want to give it to you. Take that fish and hold it always as a symbol of my love.
Well, you know, in my culture, you see, I'm part Asian, I'm part Caucasian, I'm part African, and I'm also part Malaysian and Lao, and Asian and Jamaican, and in our culture, a fish means love, and I will marry you.
Well, that is an awesome coincidence. Yeah. My love.
My darling.
Why don't you and I go down to London Park and walk around the park?
Oh, bless.
Peter!
Inspector Craddock, welcome.
Thank you for meeting me out here. Please don't try to escape me.
Of course not, sir. I'm still a little nervous.
Now I understand that you are the gameskeeper here, and you are in charge of all of the fauna that roam this beautiful park in St. Mary Mead.
Yes, a tradition that I hold dear to my heart.
Now, Peter, there have been 2 murders this past week, I'm sure you're aware, and it appears that skunk has been involved, and I have been searching all around St. Mary Mead, and it appears the only place that one could procure a skunk besides the wild would be here.
Yes, that is correct, sir. Would you like some tea?
Oh.
Be quite nice.
Yes, we have the skunks here. They're Coccus nigrifratus, that's the Latin word for skunk, which translates into stinky animal.
Very apt. Now, Peter,
Yes, sir.
have you found that any of your supply of skunk, any of the herd, what is a collection of skunks called?
They are called a collection of skunk that stink. Yes, but the proper Latin word is grouping.
A grouping?
Yes.
Have any of the skunks in your grouping gone missing, Peter?
Why, now that you mention it, sir, yes. 2.
2.
Yes, sir.
And what were their names?
Jeffrey and Thomas.
Thomas, thank you very much. Peter,
Yes, sir.
I sense that you have an affinity for these animals. I didn't even believe they had names. I was merely a gesture, but obviously a man such as yourself who is so in love with the animals in which he cares for would be devastated should 2 have gone missing.
I am, sir. I'm quite devastated, of course. I raised these, I take care of these animals myself. I've raised them since they were born.
How long have you been games keeping?
9 years.
Tell me about it.
Well, sir, as you see, I was a family of 12 children. I was the youngest of 12. And my parents always said I was a mistake.
Oh.
And while you do this, I don't mean to keep you from your job. Those goats look hungry. Why don't you feed them?
Yes, of course. They like to eat lettuce, sir. As we can here.
Yes.
So I was youngest of 12. And I was neglected. My family, as I mentioned before, they said I was an accident, a mistake, and therefore I've always felt neglected. I only had my pets at home, my cat and dog and a little turtle, and I took care of them. And they were the only ones who had seemed to actually show love for me, to actually respond to my kindness. My older siblings, they were all quite busy with their own lives. My parents did devote their attention upon them. They all went to university and became either a doctor, a lawyer, an engineer. And I always found a strong affinity to animals, for they were the only ones that showed me anything, sir. Even my own parents didn't show me love. And like the little turtle would show me so much love, sir. And I craved for it. And that's why I decided to become the groundskeeper here and to raise these animals, for they are the only things that are dear to my heart. And I cannot imagine anything happening to them, sir.
So, Peter, you've just explained to me how you are so fond of animals and how they are the only ones in your life who you felt cared for you. So tell me why you, not just this morning, were about to marry a taxidermist. Someone who is the antithesis to your love.
I didn't know she was a taxidermist until she told me.
Don't lie to me. You knew and you had a reason. Tell me. Were you trying to get back at this woman?
How dare you, sir? How dare you question my motives for love? I love Cynthia. She was the only person, other than my animals, that showed me any sort of interest and affection. And her deciding not to be with me and to become a taxidermist of all things was a betrayal, a personal betrayal to my heart. And I will not stand. I'm sorry, sir. I did not mean to lose my temper.
Cynthia? Oh, what is my knitting doing here? Cynthia?
Yes?
Sorry, that was very quick.
Would you like some tea?
Oh, thank you. I would like some tea. Thank you so much for inviting me
Pouring
over.
very easily. I don't know what's wrong with it. I'm pouring.
Darling, I think it's got a bit sour.
My! I'm so sorry.
No problem, child. I was actually coming to inquire after your mother. It's been such a long time since I've seen her, but, Well, she's not at home, so I was hoping that you could tell me how she's faring.
Well, she and my father are doing marvellously, and she's been a bit stressed lately. You see, the family is getting into a new business. I'm becoming a taxidermist, and we're just trying to understand the business world. Quite stressful.
Death. So you're going to specialize in death.
But I think about it much differently, Miss Marple. You see, people love their animals. They want to keep them forever. And yet they die, much too soon for most. And so I can make it so that each individual can have their animal forever. It's a gift I'm giving to the community.
Well, that is actually quite lovely. It's, when I say death and specializing in that, what I mean is that, well, I've known your mother for quite some time. For many years, in fact. And, well, she had a little bit of a different take on it. And
what did she say, may I ask?
She loved chemicals. She loved stuffing chemicals in people in animals, sorry. I did not mean in animals. Yes, and I find it always a bit concerning that she likes to stuff things in things. Living things, dead things, living things that were dying. It's just all very concerning.
Miss Marple, I believe that you might know my mother better than I do. And
I want to alert you.
This, go ahead. But my mother has been talking about chemicals quite a lot lately. In fact, she's trying to buy them, and they're illegal. And I tell her, Mother, no, we can't do such a thing. I'll just use glue.
My darling, I come here, I'm beating around the bush, but really I'm trying to alert you. Your family, you do not know them.
Well, I can see you're correct.
I want you to be on guard.
Am I in danger?
You might be.
I don't feel safe here then in my own home.
My dear, keep your eyes open when you sleep.
I'll do my best.
Detective Inspector General.
Craddock. Not a general.
Oh, I know.
No, I was in the war, but I was, I was not a general. I was barely private. Sorry, what were you saying?
Well, I was just about to tell you that I hated Melody. I know you were going to ask me at some point. And I just want to get that out of the way so that you just remove me as a suspect altogether.
Well, Beatrice, I'm afraid that I cannot remove you as a suspect. I understand that at one point in time, your knitting circle, this circle of women, well, I understand that before this, you had another circle, many women who you were convincing to have these sort of strange activities, live on the Isle of Wight with you, praise you as a god. Well, that quite sounds like it was a cult, something, I dare say, satanic. I'd like to ask
for
about
God's sakes, bird watching is not satanic. It simply is what it is, and yes, we met in a group in white robes and red sashes, and we worked ourselves around the room, and we prayed to every little phoenix bird we could see, but oh my goodness.
Beatrice, do you take me for a fool?
No, I don't.
I know that you are a cult leader. It was in the papers, and I know you've tried to distance yourself from it, but I would like to hear very much. So out with it.
You're quite right. And it followed me here. But really, it all started when I was in prison.
Oh.
Well, no, it wasn't really quite like that. It was all a mistake. I was actually accused of being a peeping Tom, but that wasn't the case. It was because I had a huge telescope, and I was using it for doing bird watching, and I kept looking at people's rooms because the birds were landing there. They just do. And so, anyway, I can't get within about 100 feet of a big telescope. But you see, the thing is, I met a man named Edward when I got out of prison. And I loved him. I loved him so much. But there was Melody. And it turned out that that was her husband. And I took him away. Sadly, he died on the Isle of Wight, where I was surrounding him with white robes and red sashes and lots of ladies who danced around his body like this. People thought that it was satanic or a cult, but no, it really wasn't. It was part of my culture, and that's what we do to try to get men to love us. You look at me skeptically.
I look at you skeptically because I've done my research, Beatrice. And I think that cult leaders like yourself try to fool me, but I'm not taking all this. I understand that you are at one point in love with a man who Melody fancied, and he died dancing around his body with all these women. I think you liked the attention. I think you liked being in charge. I think you liked watching all the birds. And as you know, it's common English terminology to call women birds.
Yes, and I wanted to be the head bird. I mean, why wouldn't I? Look at me.
Cynthia.
Henry?
Cynthia, I'm sorry to come upon you when your father and mother are out. I was hoping to catch them here. No, that's not true. That's not true at all, Cynthia. I came here to speak to you. If I shared something with you, do you promise me that you would keep it to yourself, a secret, so to speak?
Possibly.
You know, I've always looked upon you as almost a child of my own, what with you being the child of one of my dearest friends in the whole world.
Well, I must be honest. I've always thought of you as rather creepy.
Yes, well, I was bald at a very early age, you know. But,
Tell me your secret.
well, it's really more of a favor than a secret. There seems to be a rumor going about that your mother has been procuring taxidermy chemicals for you to use in your taxidermy career. Is it true?
Of what interest is it to you?
Well, when I was young, I had 2 pets.
Oh my God.
A parrot
Oh.
and a rabbit.
Let me see this work.
Would you stuff them for me? I've been carrying them around for all these years, and they're mostly decayed, but I think someone with the skills that you're rumored to have might be able to bring them back to a certain amount of luster.
Thank you so much, Peter! This is the most beautiful gift I've ever received! The ability to stuff a dead animal! It will be a challenge. Its parts are gone, but I shall do the best job ever.
Oh dear. Is this a skunk tail?
Oh, yes, just some of my work gone awry. Nothing to worry about.
Nothing to worry about.
Well, you know, when you are a taxidermist, these kinds of things are found around the home all the time. Oh, look. A dead rat. No, really.
Cynthia,
What?
you know, there's very few people who have access to skunks in this town.
Well,
And you know that the murder victims, my dear, dear women, were found with skunk tail down their esophagus.
Oh, well, how horrible.
Cynthia? Cynthia, did you have something to do with the death of my dear, dear loves, whose name I shall not utter here?
Well, it's written on your body. I can see it from here.
Did you kill them?
I did not kill anybody.
Did you kill them? I did not kill anybody. During this after this tense exchange, what do you think happened? Another murder!
Wow.
Yes. But who do you think it was?
The groundskeeper.
Yeah.
My dear friends, who do you think was the victim?
Cynthia.
Beatrice.
Peter.
Oh.
That poor man's body was discovered like this.
Oh, Jane, it was just horrible.
Have some fresh tea, my dear. I've just brewed it.
I really don't think I could drink at a time like this. Well, you see, I was feeling like such a fool. I just tried to coax something out of Beatrice, and I was totally rebuffed. And then earlier that day, I had been totally rebuffed by the man named Peter. So I decided to return to his nature sanctuary and get the confession that I wanted. But when I arrived there, oh dear, what I saw. I was top of a hill, you see? A nice, beautiful hill looking down on all the animals grazing in a circle. I thought it was a puddle or something that they were grazing upon, so I came closer to look. And there they were, dear. Goats, a grouping of skunks, a gaggle of geese, a murder of crows, all gnawing at the flesh of this man, Peter. Why, he was just a pile of bones.
Even the goats were gnawing at him?
Well, his clothing appeared to be made of some sort of organic
Grass.
material. Yes, they weren't eating the skin, but oh, it was such a sight to see. You see, I don't think the man fed them enough. I was there trying to get him to feed them, and he just threw a bale of hay or something at them. Well, they turned on him. That's what I thought, at least, until I discovered some foul play.
Tell me more.
You see, his body, when I gave a further look, it wasn't hard because all his organs were laid about. I smelled poison. A poison which is illegal in the UK. A poison which is used for taxidermy.
Don't tell me it was formaldehyde.
I believe so, Jane. That was the one, formaldehyde.
Oh no, that is illegal in the UK.
I don't know why they don't just use glue. That's how it works, right?
Yes.
So obviously, that leads me to believe that the one behind it is that family who is under that mime man, Philippe. Why they practice taxidermy, and obviously, have you heard anything about these chemicals?
I have. I've been exposed to them before. Last year, when I was in Brazil. Yes, I travel quite a bit for such an old lady. But I was in Brazil, and there it is not illegal. And I tell you, it is used both for the animals and for murder.
Oh, dear.
So who do you think it was? Who's on your suspect list?
Well, my list...
Your top person, your number one.
Well, Jane, I quite believe that it might be Cynthia who's behind all this.
Cynthia. Why do you think it's Cynthia?
Well, I can only put together that the skunk tails that were used in the first two murders, who'd have access to it?
Oh, no, it can't be her. I know the evidence might point that way, but she's such a sweet girl. Well, in fact, she reminds me of someone.
Who's that?
Last year, I also vacationed in New Zealand.
Jane, you really must start inviting me. I enjoy vacations too.
Yes.
I wish to go on holiday with you sometime.
And I met this girl at the inn. She was the innkeeper, and she was so kind, and she loved the animals, and she had the same sweet disposition that our Cynthia does. No, it can't be Cynthia.
Okay, number 2, her mother.
My dear, I tell you what. You keep doing your work, I'll keep doing mine. We come back. I have my suspicions, but I can't quite get the evidence yet. Let's reconvene after.
Philippe! Henri!
Philippe,
Hello there.
I'm sorry to interrupt you while you're working here in the park on your pedestal.
I call this les bird bath.
Philippe, will you be able to take a break here for a moment?
Certainly. But please, make it quick, for a mime is a terrible thing to waste.
Philippe, I must tell you something.
Yes.
At first it was only a suspicion, but I'm afraid I have proof now.
Of what?
The murders. Your daughter Cynthia is the murderess.
No!
She is! You see, I was at your house. I found skunk tails beneath the table. I accused her of being the murderess. She denied it, and I thought for surely I was making a mistake, perhaps. And so I went back to apologize to her. And when I went to apologize, the maid let me in. I went up the stairs and I went to her parlor door in order to knock on it. But before I could knock on it, I heard a strange sound. I listened with my ear to the door. It was some type of chanting with a Caribbean beat with which I was unfamiliar. And so I peered open the door just a bit to look inside, and there she was. There was Cynthia on the floor, surrounded by a circle of some white powder, holding my parrot and my rabbit in her hands. She was awfully mesmerized. I tell you, there's something evil with that girl, and if there's something that evil with her, then murder cannot be far behind.
Oh, then my worst fears have come true.
You were afraid of that?
All my life I have dealt with a curse. For some reason that I can't explain, I attract skunks. All my life, it seemed every time I opened my mouth to speak, skunks were coming from left and right. This is why I became a mime. One day I met a British woman who told me about taxidermy. She would take any skunk that came my way and get rid of it for me. Well, then we had a daughter, and alas, her passion mirrored that of my wife's, and not my own. I wanted her to marry that Peter. Have you heard that he has also been murdered?
I didn't know.
Yes. After I expressly instructed her to marry him. I think that the women of this town, they've all gone mad, and I think they're being led into some sort of crazy Caribbean cult by Beatrice. My wife spends time over there, and then she's brought my daughter in on it.
Oh, Philippe. Beatrice. Your wife.
Yes.
As long as we are confessing secrets, I am in love with her.
Which one?
If I'm not mistaken, it's Beatrice. Your wife. The woman who tends to wear the blue floral print.
Philippe forgot that his wife's name was Claire. After that was cleared up, the conversation continued.
Oh, Claire! Oh, well, that nonsense about Beatrice, never mind.
You're in love with my wife!
No! I'm in love with Beatrice, who you said was your wife, and I was so befuddled and aggravated by love, I didn't know what you were saying.
I meant to say that my wife is under Beatrice's spell.
Beatrice is the woman I love.
She's a cult leader!
No!
Yes! They have their tea over there, and they come back talking of strange ceremonies with dead animals and mixing chemicals. I've got a whole vat of formaldehyde in my back room.
Do you mean to tell me that my new love, Beatrice, is leading a cult consisting of your wife,
Claire,
and your daughter,
Cynthia,
and who is the first woman with whom I had an affair?
Melanie! It is on your neck, man!
Yes! I should have put it on my hands! Do you see what these women have done to us?
I'm saying we cannot trust a single one in this town!
Philip! The skunk fruit! Every tail is gone! And our maid said that when you came over yesterday, there was no skunk tail on the floor, and that today you have been spying on our daughter. This man hates women. Don't let him near our home or anywhere near my daughter.
Do you mean to say you have had unsupervised visits in my home?
Yes! The maid saw him sneak up and look into her room. He brought her things to taxidermy. You, sir, are an abomination.
And he
every woman who comes near you dies. You've tricked women. You've told them you were doing CPR. You, sir, you belong in the grave, if not in hell.
And he was just trying to trick me as well. He told me that you perhaps had something to do with the death of these women. I'm sorry, I had a brief moment of weakness and I doubted, but just for a minute, my love.
Don't you leave. We're calling in the inspector and Miss Marple.
If you have something to say to me, out with it.
That's not enough what I've said. That you tricked women into getting naked so that you could do CPR on them. Have you heard of this?
Philippe, you remember only moments ago how you were telling me the women are all under a spell. Isn't this proof perfect of it? I came to see your daughter because I was to apologize to her.
You, sir, are the spell maker. You're Satan.
Philippe, this woman is crazed, and if she gets you as well, then I'm really lost. Please, Philippe, you must understand who's telling the truth.
Inspector? Yes! Please come in, Miss Marple. Yes, detective.
Miss Marple, it appears that we have wandered into the wrong home. This
It
was
is-
meant to be a
Don't
private
mind us.
meeting.
We're having a
No,
private meeting.
no, come quickly. I have much to tell you.
Well, I suppose while
Don't
we're
you
here...
dare go anywhere. You sit right there in that chair, Mr. Henri.
Miss
I
Marple,
like your energy, ma'am.
Sit down.
Jane! That's him!
that's the mime who stole my wallet as a child!
Smith, get in here! Because that is preposterous. I'm sure all mimes look the same to you. Oh, we are always getting mistaken and blamed for everything in France.
I don't want to hear a thing you have to say. You better come quietly. The statute of limitations has not run out. Take this man!
Detective, this is much more important.
Oh, where's my son? No.
No.
This is mime and punishment!
Oh my God. What? Are we letting that man flee? Miss
And
Marple.
next, Detective Inspector and I had a private chat.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Detective Inspector, I'm so sorry for the craziness of this afternoon, but thank you for meeting me in your office.
Yes, would you like a seat? I'm sorry.
Oh, it's quite all right.
I will
dear.
take one then.
My dear, it appears that there is some misunderstanding. I don't quite understand why, seems to think that cults involve women and only women and head by women. It could be either gender, could it not?
I didn't understand what you said.
Well, don't you know I've been eavesdropping on conversations, and, well, I figured out who the murderer is.
You have! Was it the mine? Did I get it?
My dear, I just don't have the evidence. Not yet. But you see,
there must be something we can do.
We're going to lay a trap.
Cynthia. I suppose you heard about the ruckus that broke out in London Square and fought and traveled its way all the way back into the house, involving your mother and me.
And my sons.
Your mother, you see, she was accusing me of being the murderer. She didn't understand that I had come to your house, you see, to apologize to you, because I had thought better about accusing you. But
Oh, you changed your mind.
yes,
You no longer think I'm a murderer.
Cynthia, I tell you, I peeked into the door. I saw you. I saw you in your chalk circle. I saw you with your incantation as you held on to my beloved parrot, Matilda.
Yes, Matilda. That's what it says.
Yes. And it made me realize that you and I have quite a bit in common.
Oh, please, no.
A certain flair for Caribbean vacations.
I do enjoy a good Caribbean vacation.
And yet, I need to tell you, you were doing it wrong.
Oh.
You see,
What do you mean? I wasn't really doing an incantation. I was working on Matilda and
the only way
You're
to
scaring me.
truly summon the full power is to hold the rabbit in your left hand and the parrot in your right. And it only works when you cast your spell if people first drink tea soaked in the fish of the Okina Canal, which I have been surreptitiously putting into the teapots of all the hounds in St. Mary Mead.
That explains all the flavor.
Yes, it does. But you see, in order to truly have the full power, 2 deaths are not enough.
No.
There must be 3!
Get away from that!
What? Is that Henry? Henry! Remember me from the United States of America? Oh, Henry!
Sally, this is hardly the time.
I'm right there.
You sadistic, twisted man!
Kill him, Miss Marple, and I will personally stuff him.
No need for that. Why, Jane, this makes perfect sense. As I forgot before, formaldehyde, the reason that it is illegal here is because one of the symptoms of inhaling it is forgetting people's names. And obviously, a single person's name, he had to tattoo them on his body like mementos of some sort.
All right, Miss Marple. It seems you laid a trap and I'm the mouse that ate the cheese. How did you know?
How did I know? All the women around you. You have them tattooed on your body. It's like he said, you could not remember their names. And I saw your left wrist the other day. There's a rune on there. You should have hid it better. And when I was in the Caribbean last year, in the news was the name of a man. You had a different name back then. Jared. Yes, Jared ran away. They never caught him. But he had killed 3 other women there.
What about Peter?
Yes.
Peter's a man.
No, he wasn't.
But I can vouch for that. That's why I could not give you children.
Yes, that's right. I thought Peter might do as well as a woman, what with knowing him and everything. But apparently it wasn't enough. And so a real female third was required. But apparently your travels have taught you well, Miss Marple.
They have. Take him away. My dear.
Oh, Jane, thank you for saving my life.
My dear, nothing will ever, poor or bad will ever come upon you. You stay sweet, always.
As you should as well. Thank you so much.
Detective Inspector. Another one in the books?
Yes, we finally caught that mime. and yes, the man. Yes.
But I am very happy for you. You finally put that childish nightmare to bed.
Well, Jane, it's the funniest thing. I was trying to solve this murder. Goodbye, Cynthia. And I was going through old case files and I came upon a box from my childhood. And you know what I found inside? It was an album of photos taken in Paris. And at the bottom, it was my wallet. The mime never took it. Oh! I harbored this grudge for so many years, and it was rather silly, so, well, I've actually had a lot of time. I've talked to Philippe, and we've become very good friends.
Oh, good. In the last just 2 minutes that happened.
We were fast friends. You were very good.
You're very quick.
Oh, Detective Inspective, we discovered that this man is guilty only of being a mime. We found nothing of criminal intent. We release him.
Of course not.
I just wanted to come by and tell you that although prison was hell, they did not even have to put me in a cell. They just told me to stand there like this.
Sorry, you go. You don't speak a lot.
I did steal your wallet that day, but I only just yesterday, before coming back here, returned it to your house. It was all part of my greatest trick!
You're so cute!
I'm so sorry. For so many years, I've treated all minds the same. It's as if I was putting them in a box.
It's all right. I want to thank you for reuniting my family. I see now that I was wrong to try to make you marry someone and to have little mime babies.
Thank you, Father, for understanding me at last. And who knows, maybe someday you'll be a grandfather.
Perhaps.
In fact, my darling, I think it's about time that you and I coucher ce soir.
And so, my friends, what we've learned here in this story is that chauvinism is bad. Taxidermy for good purposes is good. And that love amongst family makes the world better. The end.